Morning, everyone. Welcome to a bright Tuesday morning in Gauteng and wherever else you are around the world. So it's great to have you on board. We have been meeting every day for half an hour, 8 to 8:30, from the day before lockdown through to the end of lockdown. And I like Bryce's comment, what is the climate and what are the conversations that are happening in the current climate? Well, this is the conversation that's happening. And it's about, so we're just following, there's no structure. We just follow where the direction of the group is going from day to day. And we've been following a theme in the last couple of days around of mindset, where are we thinking, and especially resilience. But it really is directed by the stories of the people in the group, because what makes us unique as a group are the people that make it up. And the stories themselves have a depth of insight, of inspiration, and something that we can learn from and grow from. So rather than pontificating on theoretical principles, we're actually digging deep into people's stories. Oscar, thank you for joining us. Oscar shared some of his story with us, and it sort of has kicked the ball off to say everybody has a story to tell. And so we've gone through various, different people in the group have shared elements of their story. Obviously we're half an hour, and so we're not going in a deep dive, but just enough to pick up the essence, and that we can draw some real value from listening and respecting each story. So the eyes are now on Jasper. Jasper, I volunteered him yesterday, and he was gracious enough to accept. And so, Jasper, I hand over to you to share a little bit about yourself and where you want to take us this morning.
Okay, thanks. I just want to get to my presentation. Can you see my screen?
It's blank.
Yeah, it's a whiteboard. Yes, but yeah.
Is it still a whiteboard? Okay, let me get out of this. I thought I had the right one up. Stop sharing. Share screen.
Yeah, that looks better.
All right. I think Trevor and Cecile and everybody started to set the standard there in terms of having some pictures. So when Lee dumped it on me yesterday, it changed my whole planning for the day, just to try and see if I can get to some standards here. All right, so there I'm one of 5 children. My dad is a pastor. He passed on in 2010. There's my mom sitting there, and that's me and my 2 brothers and my 2 sisters here. So we're a family of 5, all married now with kids. And my pride and joy is my wife and my 2 sons. My one son has already got a family with a young boy and a girl. And my other son, we're still praying for him for a wife. So any one of you got a spare daughter, please let me know. Our family project is Eagles Nest Lodge and Convention Center. And that's been our focus as a family for the last 35 years, which started in probably around about 1997. And, we still need to see where this is taking us. And then my story, I think we all feel a bit, but nobody would be interested in my story, but I thought, all right, maybe it has some value. The journey itself might have some value for people. Growing up as the son of a pastor, I never felt comfortable in my own skin, and maybe the best word to describe me, I felt very inferior. I had a huge inferiority complex. So in my teens, and definitely after finishing the army, and I was bullied at school and the army, I said, all right, I'm going to take up karate. And so I ended up exercising with Eddie Dory and the likes, and eventually had the black belt and my own club. I was never good with doing anything with my own hands. So, and we were not financially affluent as a family. So I had to study with bursaries, and I studied with an educational bursary. And that led me on the way. And I started off with a normal BSc. Then after that, and that's where I had to do my educational bursary. So I'm a qualified teacher. And the only good thing that came out of my studies is I met my wife, Helen. And then later on, when I landed my first job, I realized I'm in the wrong profession. And to get out of that, I studied MBA. And then singing and music, I enjoyed that from a young age. But it was also part of my planning is to say, what would make me probably more acceptable in groups. So I ended up in a gospel group, playing the bass guitar and singing. And in terms of when I stopped doing karate, I started to get fat and lazy. So I committed myself to do comrades. And I didn't have exciting stories like Trevor and all these other people who are natural athletes. My first comrade started out with a bit of a disaster. I did everything that I could right in the beginning, and then we started, and about 6 kilometers into the race, we started in Pietermaritzburg. I had a very urgent call of nature, and I ran into the first available garage. And by the time I finished, the whole field has left, and I was running to try and catch up. And as far as I run, I'm the only runner on the road, and people are already packing up on their water stations. And then, hi Shane, yes, another runner. So for the first 11 kilometers, I burnt myself out just to catch up with the back end of the field. So that was my memory of that first race. Was also the one that Wally Hayward did, the last one that he did. And he was ahead of me until about the 85-kilometer mark when I caught up with that part of the field. Anyway, I eventually did it, got the normal bronze medal for that one. And the second comrades was a similar story. Practicing for it, starting with small runs. When I did my first 10-kilometer run, so that was when I was 40, and it was that massive field, I think the year 2000, everybody was saying that's a big event. Now, I wasn't really fit, and the big thing is you find yourself in a race, a runner that's more or less at your speed. Just make the race enjoyable. And it was like a 10-kilometer race in Pretoria. And I found, I was in my 40s, I found a lady probably in her 60s. And I thought, okay, this one should be an easy one. And for the first kilometer or so, we kept pace with each other and got to the first water station. And then she said, all right, you'll have to excuse me, I'm going now. And that was a huge shock to my ego. So there was another race that I almost died by trying to keep up with this lady. Okay, so that was my athletic story. Corporate life, I worked for, because of my bursary, Somchem, who's an affiliate of Armscor, doing propellants for the Army, bought out my teacher's bursary, and that was my first job when we moved down to Somerset West. Then after a couple of years, I realized I'm in the wrong profession there, and doing my MBA, the IDC bought out the remainder of my bursary, and I moved to Johannesburg and started to work for the IDC. And that was the best 4 corporate years in my life. Learned a lot about how to handle big business and structure it. Then I started getting itchy. I thought I'm clever with my theory. I went into business for myself, and within a week I realized I made a big mistake here. A year later, that business went bust, but during that time, and there was no money during that year, During that year, I started to do private consultancy for business partners and learned about small business and what makes that tick, and saw the pains of small business. And then I found my last corporate job with the South African Housing Trust, which has since, after the change in government, has gone down, but that was the previous government's attempt to address the problem of housing for township houses. Business life, lots of failures. My first big failure is the one I just alluded to when I left the IDC and we went into brick manufacturing, so interlocking bricks for low-cost housing. The concept was brilliant, but we worked on a pilot project where the bricks were designed up to within millimeter specs. But the moment you took it out into a real-life manufacturing, it started to get outside that specs, and when you start to interlock it after the first 4 layer, it was quite a mess. So that thing never worked. Lost money there. In 2000, I got involved with another business, Organic Life Foods. That failed miserably. Lost a lot of money there. In 2003, I started the pre-runner of what I'm now busy with in GIG. But I thought, well, I read the books of Robert Kiyosaki. Let me also become an investor. So we got a group of people together, 50 plus people, and quickly we started to invest in property. And that was just before the big bust, and I'm still paying the price for that one. Some successes early in my life, with my wife being a teacher, we wanted to start a family. So she couldn't get a job as a teacher. So then we found a friend invited me. We got started in the Old Golden product, which is now New Life, and we're still involved in that. And when I got retrenched from the South African Housing Trust in 1992, I went full-time in this business. In 1994, the doors opened up for us, and I had the privilege of then taking the business into Africa, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, and as a result of that, it also launched us in our current business, Eagle's Nest. So my current life, I'm passionate about GIG. GIG stands for Generational Inheritance Group, and it's a mission or a vision I saw about in 2008 when I questioned my own journey and say, so what have I really achieved? I felt like a failure. As I researched the topic, I came across what made the people like the Maponyas and the Ruperts different people than the rest of the people out there. And when you trace it back to the founding fathers, something must have happened, because all of them started their lives against some tremendous odds. And not only did they then let their families out of poverty during their lifetime, they got their families on a journey which now unfold in the second and the third generation. And those families are the ones that now in these very trying times can become some of the major impacts in the economy by donating billions and setting up businesses that can create jobs for hundreds and thousands of people. And I said to myself, I can find out what is that general template, first of all, I want to learn it for my own family, but then we can teach it for people. And that was the birth of GIG. And out of GIG came the community bank. And I was blessed to meet people like Jason, who's now heading the community bank. And 4 years ago, I met Gavin Julian, who's just a brilliant designer of business systems and websites, and he's now the head of the GIG Institute. And then I was fortunate that my paths crossed with Trevor Nell at the gym, which then made the next vision, and that is to say, people's journey individually is from struggle, stability, success, significance. But it's also true for businesses to move from startup to stability, to success, to significance. But I didn't have the credibility or the story to drive that side. And then I was fortunate to meet Trevor, who already at a young age have taken companies to listing, and then surrounded himself with quality people like Ivan and Lee. And that formed the foundation of the Triple C. And then recently, are realizing that if we want to build an alternative economy that is no longer reliant on the current systems and structures out there that tries to control us, well, we then have to also control the regulatory environment, and that's why we started the community bank, and that got its own license in 2015. And then in 2018, I got the license for the insurance environment, where we now got a Category 2 license, and we can become a fund manager and even create our own funds so that we can become do the kind of things that the Alan Grace and the PSGs of this world can do. So that's just giving you a big helicopter vision of my life. We can drill down on any of that if people are interested. I was also, and this mostly as a result, I always had a book on my mind, but then meeting with Ian Johnson and Trevor, who has already written books, they then gave me the how-to of going about it, and I launched this book in 2018. So I'm busy with the journey where I'm still not finished with my own journey. So I think in this time where we have so much uncertainty, people say, but what's going to happen in the future? I just want to leave with this quote to say, the future is not ahead of you, it's trapped within you. And I think what we're doing with this kind of meeting with wisdoms is giving us a chance to explore. And the other big thing I've learned in this working together with all of you is the power of collaboration. No man is an island. No man can do it by himself. But if we can find the way to collectively and in a synergistic way work together, you know, who knows what the future can hold. It's going to be a very exciting journey. Thank you. Over to you, Lee. Or Ivan.
Yeah, just from my side, Jasper, thank you so much. You put so much effort and thought, and I just love the journey. So just these highlights that show a rich and varied life that we can really identify with, and just the passion that you have for families and generations, it just shines through. So thank you so much. I am going to hand over to Ivan, who will take it forward.
Great, thanks Jasper, and thanks Lee. I think what we're going to do, because we've got a slightly bigger group this morning, I'm just going to give everybody a chance to ask a question, make a comment, add a thought. So I'll whip through the group, and let's start with Oscar. Oscar, what are your thoughts on Jasper's story, and perhaps some input that you might have in terms of his journey and where you've come from?
Yeah, Jasper, well done presentation. Yes, I think most people, and that's the whole thing, is that it's important to actually tell your story so that you can actually, when you start telling the story, you realize that you're actually not as bad as you are, that you think you are. And that's a big thing. The more you tell your story, the more you learn about yourself. Don't ever keep it to yourself and think you're a failure. The more you express yourself, the more people can help, and the more people you understand, the more you understand. And that's the most important person in life, is you understand where you're going to. And my final question, what is Eagle's Nest?
Eagle's Nest is a guest house and a conference center here, very strategically located on the corner of Leslie and William Nicol. So that's a family journey that started with one house exactly on the corner, and over time we bought another stand and another stand, and today it's a property consolidated, spread over 7,000 square meter with 18 guest rooms and a conference facility that can seat about 100 people and parking for about 65 cars.
That's well done. It must be tough times now, and now you're thinking out the box, I assume.
Very tough. So I'm in my quiet time very busy to say, you know, there are reasons for seasons. So it might be a time of repurposing the property and finding what can I do with the location for starters, and is there something that I can do with the buildings, and because I think definitely conferencing is not going to recover fast. With what we're doing right now is actually against any normal old conferencing style. but I think there will always be a need for accommodation. But there's a few possibilities that we're exploring with the right minds in the room. So if anybody else has got an idea, I'm always open to listen.
Great, thanks, Oscar. Thanks, Jasper. Stella, your thoughts?
Thanks, Jasper. That was really a nice, inspiring story. What stood out for me was that you also commented on your failures. And it's amazing to me that sometimes you get people that fail and they just give up. But you were just the opposite. And to continue trying other avenues if you saw something was not working. So tell me of your thought process of after a failure to get yourself back in track.
Thanks, Stella. Interesting. I think knowing that I have to make it work, and if it's not plan A, then I need to find plan B. I'm always, while I'm busy with the project in front of me already, trying to see if this not works, what will be my next option. And what I found out of each of those failures came the seed of the next idea that in most cases ended up being a success. You know, my failure in the reward, for instance, led me to say, this is how it will not work. So how will it work? And that led me to start the gig movement. And yeah, and literally out of the first failure of FlexiBrick, I realized the importance of doing it regulatory correctly, learning about things like trusts, and then starting to set up systems and procedures so that I'm safe from creditors in certain cases. So everything has in it the seed and potential of the next breakthrough.
Great, thanks, Jasper. Sorry, Stella?
No, I just wanted to say it was awesome. Thank you, Jasper.
Great, thanks, Stella. I'm going to switch across to one of our newbies this morning, Bryce. What have you let yourself in for this morning, and what are your thoughts? You need to unmute your mic, Bryce.
Unmute there. Hi there, Ivan. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed, listening to Jasper's sort of, story. Clearly humble beginnings, very family orientated, and what I loved, and I kind of commend you to, Jasper, is you're clearly an entrepreneur. You're not scared of taking on new businesses. You kind of have businesses that have not done so well. You learn from it, and you just kind of carry on going. I think it's brilliant. I sometimes wish I had that, that kind of confidence or whatever it may be to kind of just go, sort of pursue things and make it happen and things like that. So I absolutely, love that part of your story, Jasper. What a cool career, and just being able to go give it horns. And as you said, you have kind of learned along the way, trying to keep yourself as safe as possible, but there's been failures, and you get up and you learn from it, and off you go. And it seems like you're sitting in quite a good position right now. I actually sit Falk Avenue, so you Eagles Nest, Leslie, I'm literally one road down from you. I don't know what sort of capacity your guest house is at. Obviously with lockdown, with lockdown, you're probably at zero capacity, but generally, what sort of capacity are you at, Jasper?
Yeah, we have come to a zero business model since lockdown, but the capacities, we can sleep 32 people sharing, and we can do conferencing of about 100 people.
Wow. Okay. And you generally are busy, hey Jasper?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well situated. All right. Okay, because I had another colleague who also had a guest house and ended up doing something slightly different with it. I won't get into that now. I think you're perfectly located. And thanks again for your story. Thanks for inviting me to join the meeting this morning.
Thanks.
Right, thanks, Bryce. Leighton, your thoughts?
Morning all, short and sweet. Whilst I appreciated Jasper's PowerPoint deck and the visual images, really what carried for me was authenticity and humility. And I think that's incredibly powerful. Your resilience comes from deep inside, and that power is not a brittle power. It's an amazingly warm and rounded and experienced voice. So great conversation. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Great, thanks, Leighton. Cello, your thoughts?
Morning, everybody. Baba Jasper, I just want to thank you for, just on a very, very personal note, I don't think I can ever articulate how much I look up to you. Thank you for teaching me legacy, because I think having met you, I really now understand what that means. I understand what it means to start your own journey of legacy. I look up to you and I really appreciate you. I literally, everyone that I've met here, I met through you. I mean, literally half the people that I know in business, I met through you. I mean, I've met people like Trevor, who's an absolute genius. I mean, when it comes to business. So I've seen entrepreneurs, and then I sat with you and then I understood it in a communal level, at a level that I can really personally relate to. And I wanted to just pass that message on. Beautiful life story. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks, Caleb.
Thanks, Cello. Umpo, your thoughts? And then is your husband there? We haven't sort of seen him. I think he's hiding around the corner, but if both of you would like to give some comments, if he's still with you.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved it. I think I'd actually want my husband to make a comment, because I asked a question here to say, have you ever been stuck in a place of defeat? Because my husband is also a serial entrepreneur, and for the first time then I saw him getting in a place where he was a little bit stuck, and it was so fitting that this morning he wanted to come join and hear the story. So I'm gonna let him make a comment.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. My name is Matt. Well, I joined in, I think, because we're already halfway through, so I caught Jasper, just when he's about to finish. But well, what can I say? Yeah, I've been through quite a lot. I've started quite a few businesses. I've been from film and television. I've had a security company that's doing security for multinational companies. 2010, business went down because of what do they call? Recession, global recession. 2010 was a global recession, so companies started thinking, okay, do we really need security? And I had to start again. Now I'm a farmer also. I'm also doing events and travel ticketing. So I'm a ticketing agent, for buses, Greyhound, Intercape, all kinds of buses. So I do what CompuTicket does basically, yeah. So I understand the journey of failing, getting up. I've done that a lot of times, since I started working out on myself. But it's quite empowering. Sometimes you need support. The support that you have is the one that really gets you through the difficult times. In my case, it's my wife. I'm not saying that because she's here, but yeah, the support is what's really important. And just staying positive, staying away from negativity. I don't really like listening to the news, not really into social media. I just like staying away from negative people. I would rather be alone than be surrounded by negative people. So I'm one of those people that's comfortable just being alone, But yeah, that's all I can say for now, since I got this in the middle, yeah. Thank you very much.
That's great, thank you, and thank you for your input. Did you want to add anything to that?
No, that I would love to get in touch with Jasper, but we'll send him an email afterwards.
Okay, super. Thanks so much. Nick, your thoughts? Okay, Nick's struggling with his sound, I think. Let's move on to Steve. We'll come back to you.
I'm
Oh, no, there you go. Okay, well done. Okay.
No, thanks, Ivan. Well done. Thank you. Jasper, I must say, it takes a lot of courage to actually tell your story. And I think nobody in life succeeds if they haven't failed. I mean, I've failed many times. You know, a failure just means you've attempted at something. You know, at the end of the day, rather attempt something and fail than attempt nothing and succeed, as they say, you know. What can I say? It's discipline. It's about discipline. It's about trusting yourself. It's about knowing what you're all about. And that's what probably doesn't make you scared to attempt at something again, because you know you can do it, you know. And it'll come, and it's coming. We're in a self-education industry, and personal development is very important. I just want to share something with everybody. I don't know if you all know it. I think Ian's on it with me every night. But every night there's a thing on Facebook called Rise Up Challenge. The Rise Up Challenge. Please like that Facebook page. And this week is the last week, and I think we'll all benefit from this. There's top international speakers every single night on this from 7 o'clock. Rise Up Challenge. Like that Facebook page. And I've been on this thing now for the last 2 weeks. And I can tell you it's changing my life big time. Because especially in what's happening in today's world, the changes, the new way of thinking. I mean, last night they said something that stuck to me. We're in the self-education industry now. Self-education industry. So nobody has been in this spot ever, you know, and it's about seeing what today can bring so that the future can be bright. So well done, Jasper. That's great. I'll gladly come and sit with you and exchange some ideas and see what we can do to help you with the rooms. I'm sure I can add some value there. And yeah, that's it. Thank you. Today was great.
Thanks.
Great, thanks, Nick. Steve.
Thanks, Jasper, for your story. I enjoyed it, man. The part that really spoke to me was when you got left in the dust by the 62-year-old woman. And what I really took out of that was, I think sometimes we can come across people who've been doing something for a long time and we're new to it. And we can either look at them leaving us in the dust as a failure, and we can turn around and say, this is not for me, or you can try like hell to catch them and learn what you can from their experience. So that really struck me. Thanks, man, for your story.
Great, thanks, Steve. Nice insight there. Grant.
Thanks, Jasper. Well, that explains a lot, eh? I'm just joking. To talk to the strapline of Wisdom Chats, which says life through different lenses, the one thing I learned when meeting Jasper is I had a lens called my Golden Products lens. As soon as someone said Golden Products, I put my Stevie Wonder glasses on and just shut off. We went into a relationship, a business relationship, and I get nothing for saying something nice about the man, by the way. I don't get commission for it. But I was very nervous about our relationship when we started. I don't know if Jasper actually knows that, but inside me, when I heard Golden Products, I just got nervous. I work with a man now, and it is probably my fairest business deal that I've got at the moment. And he calms me down when I phone him and I say a broker has done something wrong, and I'm about to murder somebody. Jasper's the guy who talks me through it, and yeah, I don't kill anybody on that day. So Jasper, thank you for knowing you, and thank you for the story.
Right, thanks, Grant. Devin.
Morning, everybody. Thank you, Jasper, for sharing that with us. I met Jasper a couple of decades ago, also through GNLD, Golden Products. And I think Jasper probably knows this, but he needs to sometimes be reminded that he's been so influential on so many people's lives, and especially mine as well. And I think it's been so important to recognize two things that have helped me recently. And one is having multiple income streams, which I think Jasper has done so well, and simply control the debt. So thanks to Jasper, your unfailing faith as well, something that's very close to my heart. So Jasper, it's been a privilege, and lovely to hear your story. And it's also so encouraging to hear that life hasn't always just been roses for you. You know, everything's a bit of a life lesson, and you've been through quite a few lessons and come out all the better for it. So, and right now it's a tough time out there. The only constant is change, and we have to just keep evolving and keep adapting. And my business as well, I thought that it was pretty secure, but you know, things change all the time. So we just got to keep evolving and keep adapting and keep innovating. And it's lovely to have this opportunity to hear from people such as yourself. So thank you so much.
Great, thanks, Devin. Ian Johnson.
Thank you, Jasper. It's an interesting comment, because the first thing that comes to mind is that we don't talk about our failures. And it's like gamblers, you know, they always tell you how much money they've won, but they never tell you how much money they've lost. And I think that we've all been through those journeys. And thanks for sharing the story. And I didn't realize that Cecile had some competition out there, but I think you need to get it back into the dojo with her and see just how she does perform.
Great, thanks, Ian. Herman.
Jasper, thank you very much for sharing. And one thing that stood out for me, again, is the importance of reflection. If you wouldn't have reflected on your failures, you wouldn't have had the successes as a consequence. And that just, as I said, reinforces my belief in the value of reflection. Thanks for doing that. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Herman. Cecile.
Jasper, thank you very much for your story. It was inspiring. And what I want to say is that it's my observation about this group is no one came from big money. Everyone came from really humble beginnings and normal family backgrounds where parents were trying their best. So all of us, from that we learn we want to leave a legacy for our children. And yeah, I think that's one good thing, that you can take hands with one another and say, oh, we all want to do the same thing. Just on the matter of failure, I've got part of my personality is I forget very quickly about my failures. Once I fail, I kind of try and rectify it and I move on. And years later, having a twin, my sister would say to me, can you remember when this and that happened? Then I say, did that happen to me? I don't know, I can't remember that it happened to me. So while Jasper was talking, I was thinking of a lot of similar failures that I've had, but it's kind of on the back burner. I've forgotten about that. But thank you very much for your story, Jasper. It was so inspiring.
Fantastic, thanks, Cecile. And I think Trevor's our last one to comment, and then we're going to wrap up. We've run a bit over time today, but I think it's been a great discussion again. So Trevor, over to you.
Fantastic story, Jasper, and I'm going to tell them the actual truth about how you interfered in my swimming about 3 years ago, but I'll save that for another time. What strikes me as I look across all these people here, my background obviously comes from developing various listed companies and advising listed companies 30 odd years ago. And I look around here and I see the quality of individual that we're missing in many of those companies. And I think the way that we're going down, where people are turning around and saying, hey, how do we build small businesses? I think we've got to turn around and say, how do we build a virtual listed company out of what we're doing here? So to me, this is very exciting, the quality of individual that is just coming on board into these sessions. So please, mate, continually.
Great, thanks, Trevor. Yeah, and I think that's a great note to end off on. So again, a fantastic discussion this morning. Thanks everybody for your participation, and we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Cheers and have a great day.